Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul predictions for the 3rd of July, or the weekend of the 3rd of July. Hi, I'm Paul, and I'll bring you my predictions across the international rugby. We've also got the Lions Tour, I guess that counts as international rugby, as well as Major League Rugby and the Currie Cup going on. Sure, the finals of in Europe have completed. That does not mean that rugby is all over. There is plenty of rugby still going on around the globe. Don't forget that you can get this as a video on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, or as a podcast, just search New Zealand Sport Radio, wherever you get your podcasts from. It's all there. Also, if you want to become a supporter, there should be a link in the notes as to how you can do that and help me bring you all this stuff, and also buy the tech to enable me to do this kind of stuff. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through the my picks. We're looking predominantly at Super Rugby. Super Brew. Remember, these picks are all about enjoying rugby and creating kind of discussion around it. This is not about gambling picks. If you want to use these picks for gambling, then please do so at your own risk and only gamble money that you can afford to lose, and all of that kind of stuff. So we're into international rugby, and yes, it says the round one on Super Brew, but look, we had two games last weekend as the British and Irish Lions took on Japan, beating them 28-10, and also Samoa took on the Maori All Blacks, losing 10-35. So both of those games, remember, those ones were there, but weren't on Super Brew. One of the things that characterises this window, which means unique, is the number of Tier 1 versus Tier 2 games. Let's be honest, not that Tier 1 teams are travelling to visit any Tier 2 nations. It's amazing what COVID's done. All the Tier 1 teams basically said, we're going to play at home. You've got to come play us. Now, in the case of New Zealand, Australia, South Africa to a certain degree, that's kind of understandable as they're normally hosting games during this window. But all the European teams, with the exception of Scotland, who are actually going to travel for some of their games, have all said, look, we're staying home. You've got to come see us. So anyway, that it is what it is, and that's probably for a different day to discuss that. Kicking us off, though, South Africa versus Georgia, the world champions, world number one. Well, admittedly, they haven't played since 2019 and that World Cup final, up against Georgia, who have never beaten a Tier 1 nation. Put simply, folks, what is the margin going to be? Because South Africa are going to win this one. I'm going to put it out to 20. It's going to be a comfortable win by South Africa over Georgia, who have had to travel down. South Africa, obviously, will have had less preparation time. Next up, and it's not on Super Brew, but it was the Maori All Blacks taking on Samoa. As I say, last weekend it finished with a 25-point win to the Maori All Blacks at 10-35. I'll go for 14 points to the Maori All Blacks, again by a 2-point margin. In that one, both sides should hopefully be better, having had more time together since last weekend. The All Blacks with a really interesting squad. A lot of only two players in the starting 15 have more than 40 caps. It shows you how inexperienced this All Black squad is at the moment. Sure, there are players missing, like Aaron Smith and Sam Cane, Brody Retallick, who would all add to that cap number. But still, it shows you how inexperienced the All Black squad is currently. As soon as you get past those frontline players, still, Tonga have got a couple of players who have. Whose top level is NPC, so they haven't even played Super Rugby or that kind of level. So, and with 13 debutants, I think it is, in the match day 23 for Tonga. Look, again, they haven't played all of last year. There's always turnover after a Rugby World Cup, so we'd expect pretty much a number. But I think there's also an element there of travel restrictions. And you've got to say that when New Zealand beat Tonga by, was it 90-odd points previously, so I think we'll hit the 50-odd point margin here. This should be a very comfortable victory for New Zealand against Tonga. We then head over to Europe, where we've got Ireland up against Japan. Japan came off the back of that loss to the British and Irish Lions 28-10. But hey, at least they've had a game warm-up, which Ireland haven't had. And Ireland will be missing their British and Irish Lions as well. Still, at home, I'm going to back Ireland by 10 in this one, but should be exciting to see Japan getting these tier 1 tests. Wales then take on Canada. Again, Wales without their British and Irish Lions, but also Canada missing players through injury and things. This again is going to be one of those big victories. I would put it out to Wales by 30. Same again with England versus the USA. USA had a few injuries, obviously travel restrictions and things hurting them. So you've got to whack it out to a big margin to the tier 1 team. England, again, though, missing their British and Irish Lions, but still, and also had players in the Premiership final last weekend. So they've not had much preparation time. Could be a bit of a disjointed game, but still, England should come out comfortably on top in that one. Into next week then, and the only tier 1 tour that is going ahead this year, which is France to Australia. Now, look, France are not including a lot of their players who were involved, in the top 14 final in this one. Also, we're looking at 3 test matches in something like a week and a half. So it's how much rotation and how the two countries will balance their squads, knowing that they've got games so close together, will be interesting to see. Still, this is a French side that's French side that's got a lot of depth. We saw that in the November internationals, where they deliberately only played players for so many games, and therefore ended up growing a lot of depth in that squad. So even though France are missing players still from Toulouse and also La Rochelle, still it is going to be a good sign for France. Australia, though, at home, able to prepare better. I'm backing them by 5 in that one. The Lions then take on the Emirates Lions, then host the British and Irish Lions down in South Africa. Good luck to the person who is calling this one with those two Lions, with the Lions versus Lions game. I'm going to back the British Irish Lions. Look, normally they start rusty in these games, but they looked pretty good against Japan last weekend and connected. This time, though, I expect Warren Gatland to include more of the players that haven't been in camp as long, and therefore perhaps they'll look a little bit more disjointed. Still, the Lions came up short pretty badly against the Pumas the other week. They did bounce back last weekend in the Currie Cup, but still, British and Irish Lions not by a lot, just by 7, because I think they're going to have, as I say, that disjointed nature. With the one on the second on the 8th of July, up against the Sharks, well, we'll leave that one to see how they've performed this weekend first before I go ahead predicting that one. Head over then to Major League Rugby. And how am I doing this one? 57%. Not great, folks, to be honest with you. But then again, the average is 58%. So a lot of people struggling in this one. San Diego, though, the first one cut up, San Diego versus the Seattle Seawolves. Look, Seattle Seawolves, with only 2 wins this season, really are struggling. Sure, not a great run recently for the San Diego Legion, but they did get that run of 3 wins, I think, at home, backing the Legion by 5. Really interesting one between the Free Jacks and Rooney. Free Jacks, look, at home, going well. 5 from 6, but I said that last weekend when they took on NOLA and came up short. Look, Rooney are going very well in this conference. Only a couple of losses recently up against Utah Warriors, who have been going well, and that was tight, and the Austin Gilgronis, who we know are a good team. So I'm going to back the Rooney away from home in that one. Next up, the Toronto at home down in Georgia, so not really at home, and really have come off the rails with quite a few losses, including those big ones against the Gilgronis. But the other ones they've kept within a score, so not so bad against Nola Gold and Rooney too. I mean, look, they've been up against 3 good teams over the last weeks. Old Glory, really, 1 from 7 on the road, not very good at all. Down in Atlanta last weekend, lost by 20 points. So really hard one here. Which one is going to lose it the least? I don't know. I'll pick Toronto by 3, but with no confidence at all, to be honest with you. Final game of the round should be an absolute cracker between the Giltinis and Nola Gold. Two sides going well. LA have come back well after those 2 losses on the road to Rooney and Atlanta to put in 3 wins. I think at home they're going to be too much for Nola, who in all honesty, who have improved their away record now with 3 wins on the bounce. That's against the Glory, Arrows there. Free Jacks a bit better than the other 2, but even so, Giltinis by 7 for me in that one. Finally, we've got the Currie Cup, and there was a game. Cheetahs versus the Blue Bulls that got postponed. There was a game midweek here between Western Province and the Sharks. I went the Sharks by 3, but the Western Province took it by 1, so I got that one wrong there, folks. A bit of a 50-50 one there. Pumas up against the Griquas. Now, Griquas really surprised us with that win over the Cheetahs by 21 points. Now, the Pumas losing to the Bulls after that big win over the Lions initially. Look at that. These have been tight ones. Pretty much one score for the past 4 games between these 2 teams. And the last 3 in this sort of last season have all been close. Still, at home, got to back the Pumas here by 7 for me in that one. There you go. That is all my predictions for this week. Hope you're going to enjoy this weekend of rugby. I will be live straight after the All Blacks versus Tonga, giving me a post-match reaction to that one, and live straight after the Emirates Lions versus the British and Irish Lions. I've got 2 South Africans joining me, including the Yellow Cap, for that post-match reaction. So do join me for those shows. They'll be live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And hope you have a great weekend watching your rugby, folks.